I was a lecturer in the University of Juba. But what happened in 2013 made me to leave the classroom and join active politics, which ended up in the signing of the peace agreement, which I want to see it implemented, all the chapters, including elections. But there are parties, including SPLM-IG, who want to implement the agreement selectively. How will we account to people who are still in the UNIMIS camp? The refugees, the IDPs. We don't want to resettle them. We don't want to bring our people back. We don't want to implement security arrangements. Elections is not the answer to the problems of South Sudanese. You know, those who say you hold elections without implementing the agreement, I'm sure you read the position of other parties, SOA and OPPs and so on, and SPLM-IG. They are actually insensitive to the prevailing circumstances of the country. I pity our counterparts in other opposition parties. Why? Because we also understand that probably they have limited stake in what is going on. For instance, in security arrangements, they don't have forces in the cantonment. Yes, SOA has been having some roaming officers. But in the cantonment, they don't have forces. IO still have forces. Actually, the large bulk of the forces are still behind, awaiting phase 2. So somebody can sit in his small party and say, oh, I think I can go for elections, not knowing that IG, which is armed with all sorts of forces and militias, and IO, which have forces in the assembly areas and cantonments and in training centers like Gudmakur and so on, they still want to settle the fate of these forces, that they must be deployed. And moreover, these same forces are the ones that will take charge of the security of elections. But other parties, they don't know this because they don't have the forces. Okay? So our position are for the prerequisites to be implemented. And we are saying the parties, particularly the SPLM-IG and the SPLM-IO, must dialogue and get a way forward to this. Because we are now sure that given the fact that we are left with only 9 months to the deadline for elections as in the roadmap, and you have all these pending tasks not implemented, it is impossible for Artigonu now to hold elections come 22nd December 2024. It's impossible. Unless if they are looking for a sham elections, unless if they are just looking to abrogate the agreement, which will throw the country into confusion. Because we are part of our forces now in the unified, being deployed. Others are in the cantonments and training centers. Should you take unilateral decision to obstruct this process? What will you do with the forces now already unified? And these ones which are still to be unified, what will you do with them? The country will be in confusion. And who will be responsible? The one who abrogated the peace process. We are not going to be part of any process that will abrogate the peace agreement. We are not going to be part of any elections that will be sham, that will not be free and fair, that will be held in violations of the peace agreement. We will not accept it. We will not accept it. Any elections you plan or whoever plans to hold in violation of the peace agreement, in abrogation of the peace agreement, we will not be part of it. And we will immediately...
Where the political crisis in South Sudan continues to threaten the stability and security of the country, with fears that a hard-won peace deal that was signed between President Salva Kiir and First Vice President Riek Machar could be falling apart. With the UN being told that military offences, primarily involving South Sudan's rival militia, which answers to their First Vice President, and government troops loyal to the President, these have continued. Now, on Monday at the United Nations Security Council, a senior UN official warned that the country is teetering on the brink of returning to a full-scale civil war. Meanwhile, the devastating civil war in neighboring Sudan has driven 1.2 million refugees into South Sudan, straining already limited resources. Well, I'm now joined live in studio by Nathaniel Oyet, who's the acting chairman of Mr. Machar's SPLM-IO party. Nathaniel, thank you so much for joining us on the program. Maybe first begin by updating us on Mr. Riek Machar's current state. When did you last speak to him since the announcement was made that he's been under house arrest?
Thank you very much, BBC World Service. I have actually not been in contact with the first vice president, who is also the chairman of the party. He has been detained in Communicado. No access to him. Not even his wife can access him. Nobody can access him. So he's just under detention under very squalid condition.
As a result of this, is there any discussions or dialogue with the SPLM in government regarding this and your party?
Well, we have been calling for dialogue. All our media engagement and our diplomatic engagement has been pointing toward dialogue. But we have not received any feedback from the SPLM in government. Instead, they have been refusing to meet peace envoys who visit Juba from European Union and also from IGAD, African Union. They have always been denied access to the first vice president.
I mean, even as you talk about the call for dialogue, the UN is saying that military offences involving troops who say they're loyal to your side and, of course, government forces are ongoing. There's a call for de-escalation of tensions, stop the hostilities. Are you willing to call anyone who may be loyal to your party to that?
We are not on offensive, we are on defensive. It is them, the SPLM-IG and their military force, the SSPDF, joined by Ugandan troops, UPDF, and also RSF. They have been on offensive against the cantonment which has been created by the peace agreement. The training centers where the unified forces were being trained all came under attacks. As I speak now, all our forces had to withdraw for their safety.
What's the way forward for peace?
The way forward for peace is dialogue. But Salva Kiir has refused dialogue. SPLM-IG, they don't want dialogue. Even the call from the international community towards dialogue, IGAD, that is guaranteeing the peace agreement, called for dialogue, and they have been having many visits, missions to Juba, but all in vain.
The UN is calling for both sides to play a role in this. What more can you do on your end?
On our end, we are calling for SSPDF, for SPLM-IG to stop attacks on our position. We are on defensive.
They are also calling for the offensive to stop on your end as well. How do you respond to that?
Well, we are not on offensive. We have been in the cantonments. It is them who came and attacked the cantonments, and we withdrew from the cantonments.
What do you think has been the impact of this from a humanitarian perspective on the country?
We have huge displacement. The number of IDPs have skyrocketed. The number of refugees, those who cross the country to neighboring countries, has also grown up. We have over 4 million refugees in the neighboring countries. We have over 2 million IDPs also in the internally displaced person camps with the UNMIS. So we want offensive by the SSPDF to stop.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on the program. Nathaniel Oyet, acting chairman, Mr. Machar's SPLM-IO party, joining us.
I must not be seen as an Acholi. or as a Dinka, as a Nuer, as a Bari, or whoever. I must be seen as a South Sudanese. South Sudan is not yet there for this. They are just on papers that we are citizens. But the way we interact is the opposite. Tribalism, ethnic division, regionalism. South Sudan had the opportunity in reconciliation and healing to unite the country, to create the ideal citizenship that we fought for. During the war for independence, we were more united. We were one people. We were eating together, dying together, walking together. But it is not the case today. Why? What happened when we came to town? And then you have 2013. You have 2016. And then you want to hold elections under this circumstance without addressing the root causes of the conflict. The members of the press in South Sudan and outside South Sudan, our chiefs and elders of our communities, all South Sudanese from all walks of life, the common citizen, the women and children who are always affected by the scourge of war and suffering, all our gallant forces, the generals, the field commanders, officers and NCOs, and men, I take this opportunity to greet you today, 15th of January, 2026, and wish you a happy new year, prosperous new year, a year of peace, a year of victory for the SPLM, SPLA-IO, a year that South Sudanese shall enjoy their freedom. In fighting our brothers and sisters who are being dragged to the front line because the peace agreement has been abrogated and has been destroyed by the regime of President Salva Kiir. We wanted peace. That's why we moved to Juba in order to implement the peace agreement. The accusation against us by the regime that we are warmongers, that we have destroyed peace, is baseless. It's baseless and useless, unfounded, because they were the ones who started this war by arresting our leaders, our chairman and commander-in-chief, arresting our colleagues, including the chief of staff of the SPLM, SPLA-IO forces. They started by attacking the cantonments and the training centers. They pursued our forces into the forest. They bombed our civilians and citizens in the countryside. They are the ones who started by inviting foreign troops into our soil, into our land, in order to kill our people and destroy peace process. They use cluster and chemical bombs on our innocent civilians and citizens. They intentionally targeted our civilian population. They violated the UN embargo by importing more arms and ammunition into the country in order to wage war and destroy a peace process. They have committed war crimes and crimes against humanity and crimes of genocide against our people. They are now engaged in a blackmail and propaganda where the regime claims that the leadership of the SPLM, SPLA-IO has resigned or is about to resign. They claim that we are now undergoing internal crisis and disunity. I want to dismiss this with contempt, that they are all false, baseless, and unfounded. I am put the chairman and the commander-in-chief of the SPLM, SPLA-IO. My chairman and commander-in-chief has been arrested, has been detained in Juba, and dozens of my colleagues. they have been detained in Juba. And those who are under open arrest, who cannot leave Juba, either to travel to the States or to travel outside the country, they are all under detention. They are all under restriction by the regime. The regime is the one who started war, who is now causing blackmails. I'm not a warmonger. I'm not against peace in South Sudan. I have not defected. I'm still the chairman and commander-in-chief of the SPLM-SPLA-IO forces and the party. I'm here put until the release from detention of my colleagues. My chairman and commander-in-chief will continue defending ourselves and defending the civil population. We will not accept to surrender to the enemy, to surrender to the regime that is anti-peace, that is targeting our people. We shall not surrender to them. We will continue resisting and defending ourselves and our population. As the enemy continues with the rejection of dialogue, rejection of the peace process, rejection to release the chairman and commander-in-chief of the SPLM-SPLA-IO forces, we will continue resisting. I call upon all of you, members of the public, the members of the SPLM-SPLA-IO, to stand with the leadership, to resist, to call for the release from detention of our chairman and colleagues who are now under detention in Juba, being tortured in Juba, being kept under very squalid condition. You stand firm, resist the regime, stand firm for the release of our colleagues and the chairman. Stand firm to resist every propaganda. Stand firm to resist any blackmail by the regime against the party. We are here to move forward, to move together in unity, unity of the political wing, unity of the military wing. Those who are disoriented should think, should stop and think that the future without your resistance is very dark, is very bleak for us, ourselves, and for our citizens who are being bombed, who are in the detention, who are in the extermination camp, in the IDPs, who are in the refugee camps. The future is very bleak. We must continue steadfast resistance against the regime that has destroyed our country, that has looted all the resources, that has looted over $50 billion from our coffers, from our citizens. We have never seen development. We have never seen agriculture. We have never seen industrialization. We have never seen production of energy from Fula, from Beden. We have never seen export of our resources, except the oil that is being exported and the resources being stolen and being eaten by few cliques in Juba who are surrounding Salva Kiir and Salva Kiir himself, the first family, the relatives and his friends. We have never seen any development. We cannot allow the regime to continue. We'll continue resisting in Jonglei State. As we have gained now upper hand on the ground, in the field, I call upon all the citizens to resist their mobilization, their counter-revolution strategy, to resist the conscription that is going on. I take this opportunity to thank all those who stood with us from the beginning, since 2013, when the regime started targeting our people. I am thanking all the diplomats who have stood with the people of South Sudan, calling for dialogue, calling for peace process, supporting our civil population, providing for the humanitarian and relief services. I call upon you not to give up, to continue standing with the people of South Sudan, continue helping our innocent civilians, continue standing with the refugees and IDPs, continue standing with the common man and women in the countryside. I call upon you to continue calling for dialogue, to continue supporting the SPLM-SPLA-IO in its quest for durable peace in South Sudan, in its quest for dialogue to resolve the conflict in South Sudan, in its quest to defend itself and defend the innocent population. I call upon all the citizens to stand in support of our innocent civilians and the members of SPLM-SPLA-IO. With these remarks, I thank all of you for your audience. Let us move forward. There is no defection. There is no any resignation. We are moving forward for victory in the year 2026. Thank you so much for your audience.